What's good, YouTube? In today's video, I'll be showing you one of my favorite meals to cook for fitness. We'll be whipping up some protein tacos. Let me show you how to make them. First off, with the temperature, you want to start off high so that way the oil can melt properly and create a nice sear on the ground beef. Check the pan to see if it's hot enough, then give it a whirl to let the oil spread evenly. This next part is really simple. Just take out your ground beef and make sure to spread it evenly across the pan so that way it all cooks, evenly. On a side note, I don't do it here just yet, but you want to turn down the heat to about medium. We don't have that sort of gauge here, so I just turn it down lower. Next thing you want to do is you want to wash the heck out of your veggies. This will ensure that there's absolutely no gunk, no dirt, no whatever the heck in your food. Next, you want to skin your veggies, unless you're one of those people that likes to eat their veggies with the skin on. Now, if you're wondering why I'm using potatoes, it's just because my dad wanted potatoes in the tacos for some reason, so I'm just doing it for him. It would be a good idea for like a bulk, but for a cut, honestly, just take out the potatoes. Now, you could throw away the potato skin, but what me and my dad like to do is we like to save the potato skin for nutrients for the trees that we have. At this point in the cooking process, the meat should be browning on the bottom. Just separate it a bit more so that way you don't have to deal with it later, you feel me? Next off, we're going to cut off the stems from the peppers. I don't want no stems in my food. Now we're going to peel the onion a bit just because we don't want, raw ass onion skin in our food. We're going to cut off the stem to make cutting the onion itself, much easier. But now that you got everything prepped, you can begin cutting everything. I cut the potatoes this way. It's just efficient for me. You could do it however you want. I know some people have like one of these vegetable cutting things. You could use that. Doesn't really matter. Whatever gets your potatoes chopped. Now that you got all your potatoes cut up, we're going to start with seasoning the meat with some Himalayan salt. This will give it that nice salty taste to balance out the blandness. Sprinkle it on, but don't be generous. Trust me, you're going to want all the salt that you can get. Not too much though, because there's such thing as too much salt. Next, we're going with some garlic. Me personally, I like to put garlic in this meat just to give it more flavor, I guess. So you want to evenly coat it across the entire meat. Yeah, just like that. Alrighty, now next we're going to hit it with some black pepper. Already know, this is the essential for meats. Just evenly coat it, don't put too much. Ooh, now this is my favorite seasoning. Right here we got cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper goes on a whole lot of my foods. I never waver from it. I never skip out on cayenne pepper. You want to just fucking coat the entire meat with that shit. I swear to you. It'll be spicy, yes, but it'll be hella flavorful. Now next you want to put in your potatoes because you want it to cook with the meat. And then you just want to give it a nice stir so that way, you can begin the cooking process on the potatoes. The potatoes need to be put in first because they're going to take the longest to cook. Now we're going to begin on chopping up all the peppers that we got. You want to split it down the middle so that way eventually you can use a spoon to scoop out all the seeds. You really don't want all that stuff in there. Trust me. Just makes it a whole lot hotter. Now, something I do really want to mention is that we're not looking for heat with this meal because it's already hot enough, spicy enough with the cayenne pepper. We don't need to make it a whole lot more spicier with the serranos and the jalapenos. Like, we really don't. That's just too extra And we really don't want all that all those seeds in the food. You feel me? It just doesn't make it enjoyable to eat. Now don't worry if there's some seeds left over. I'm pretty sure it's just gonna like fall off at some point whenever you're just trying to cut the thing. So I don't know how y'all cut it, but I personally cut my peppers just like this. It's quick, efficient. You want to get into small cubes. The chunks don't necessarily matter. It's just me personally. I prefer it in smaller bite pieces. All right, now we gonna cut up the onion. Okay. Hang on. Before you start judging me, yes, I do not know how to cut up an onion. Okay, just chill out. Let me do my thing, cause eventually I'll find out, and I'll do it efficiently. And this is how I do it. I know I'm slightly embarrassed. It is what it is. just just enjoy me cutting this onion up. Now again, I like to cut up my onions into like small bite pieces. You know what I mean? I want to get them about the same size as the serranos and the jalapenos. But don't get lost in the cutting process because you still got the meat cooking and everything. You want to give it a nice stir so it cooks evenly. Now next you want to check on the potatoes. Find the biggest one and see if it's got more whiter parts and some transparent parts. The transparent parts is what you want to look for. You kind of want to see through the potato. You know what I mean? You want to look for that fluffiness inside. Because if it's solid, that indicates that it's undercooked. Now check it. This is what you should really be looking for right here when it comes to your potatoes. And you want the inside to be soft and fluffy. Whenever you take one of the bigger pieces out, you can check for the softness. Okay, now we're putting in the onions and the serranos and jalapenos. These get cooked last. Okay, I know. My dumbass forgot to stir everything around. I was going to just wash the dishes for like a good minute, and then I realized, oh shit. I was just washing the cutting board. I had no idea that shit was just sitting there. But it's okay. We stir it up again, and then, we continue the cooking process. Now, this isn't relevant to the cooking process at all, but I like me a good glass of water. This right here is just my favorite glass piece to just drink out of. I don't know why. It just looks pretty cool. Eso. Now we want to give everything a stir so that way everything cooks evenly. On a side note, the peppers and the onions, they don't need to be cooked for that long. So you don't have to worry about them sitting at the bottom or trying to get them to cook thoroughly because it kind of just all does it on its own. Cold water just hit. Then we go with about some corn tortillas. I would prefer a lower calorie option. 109 calories is a bit too much for me, but it's what we got, so let's get it. You just want to get your corn tortilla and just slap it on the pan. Now go on and get your shredded cheese. It really doesn't matter what you use. This is just what we have. So if you ask me, just always try to opt for a lower calorie option.
Oh my God, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on, boy.
All right, I get it. The allegations are true. I forgot to turn on the freaking pan. I can already hear the comments just, slapping their head. Disappointment. That's one thing about me. I could be slow at times. I ain't gonna lie. Okay, now you want to check on the tortilla. You want to make sure that it's cooked pretty well. You can kind of tell when you see lines going across it. But I'm feeling like these tacos need more flavor, so I'm going to be cutting up some limons. Now that I have my limons cut up, now it's time to put the queso. Now make sure to coat the tortilla evenly with the cheese. You don't want to put an unnecessary amount. It's just unnecessary amount of calories that you don't need. Now, honestly, I'm gonna need some salsa with this. I got my Pop's homemade salsa right here. This shit fire. You can use whatever salsa you have. We just have some homemade one, so I'm using it. Alright, so since the first tortilla is done and cooked, you want to then put your filling onto the taco. Alrighty, and with that, we have our first taco made. And on that note, I just want to let y'all know that I am really appreciative for you investing your time into this video. I really love cooking, so cooking is going to be, one of the type of videos I'm going to be making from now on. I've been trying to find more things to make content about, the gaming stuff is just, it's not clicking to me no more. I've been kind of putting gaming on like the back end of things, so I've just been wanting to film more experiences, you know what I mean? I love cooking and I want to get into content creation a whole lot more, so it's a great combination. Ooh, shit, look at them fucking tacos. Holy shit. You already know I'm going to be devouring this. Now, in terms of macros, I'm sorry, I don't have the exact measurements on everything, but I'm going to put a good guesstimate right here on the screen for you guys. You could always opt for lower calorie options on your tortillas and your filling, which is what I should probably do. But other than that, guys, cheers. Woo.